So here we go. Welcome to the 54321 formula plus missing secret for opening your heart to love and life without fear of it breaking in the process. So you can experience what it's like to be totally confident in who you are and finally have it all. It is actually possible, and it's quite possible quite rapidly with a bit of daily awareness and support and consciousness. All about how to make sure that you don't get stuck in that drama that holds you back. So today I'm looking forward to sharing with you why the key to opening your heart to love and life without fear of your heart breaking in the process is all to do with getting out of the shame and blame game, and how you can only do that when you're actively intending to see the bigger picture. We're also going to look at how you can get to see the bigger picture. But first of all, let's check you're in the right place. So, do you often find yourself worrying about being misunderstood or rejected, abandoned or lost, which means you start to play it safe and small in order to belong, but block yourself in the process? And then, of course, things happen from there and the problems start to happen. The things that you were worried about happening in the first place, they probably wouldn't have happened had you been able to shine authentically as yourself. But you just can't seem to feel confident in who you are. So your decisions and relationships just become full of anxiety, especially if they're about showing up in the world as yourself. And you'd really love to live the life of the dream, you know, the one that you really feel is deep down inside of you, that you've been born with here to live out. But instead, you seem to be stuck in a bit of Groundhog Day. Resonate? Perhaps you want to live a life where you feel free and supported at the same time to make progress, but you find yourself beset with relationship difficulties, maybe even to the point that all your energy emotionally or financially gets used up, leaving nothing for you to make headway with. Oh, yes. When it's at its worst, I know, I've been there, done that for sure. And you want to trust others, but sooner or later you feel let down by almost everyone, and this stops you from letting others in, and that leaves you feeling isolated. And then you have this fear of failure, visibility, vulnerability, and a desire to people please, which means that you just put your life off and things get worse the more you do so. Perhaps you'd love to just live life on your terms, but you don't even really know how to start with that anymore. And so you put your life off with procrastination and people pleasing because it's easy not to feel good enough, and it's easier to distract yourself with other people. Perhaps you've had a measure of success already, so maybe this isn't resonating with you now. Maybe it resonated with who you were a few months or years ago. Maybe you got to a certain level where you thought, I've cracked this, but then you've gone what feels like backwards down the spiral and like, oh no, I'm here again. Or maybe you just don't know how to go to the next level. So whether you're a beginner to the spiritual self-development path or a seasoned practitioner, you're going to find some things, some hidden gems in this 54321 formula that will really help you go to the next level wherever you're at. Okay? And if you've been concerned in the past that you can't open your heart for whatever reason, I invite you to put that behind you now. Just suspend that belief. It's important to set your intention to go forth from this day actively opening your heart to love and life despite the fear of it breaking in the process. Then with that decision to align to the intention of healing rather than hurting and incorporating what I'm about to share with you as a daily practice, you will be well on your way. So just take a moment right now to set the intention to align with healing rather than hurting. Hi, I'm Tiffany Crosara, and just quickly, 3 things you need to know about me before we start. I'm a happily married stepmom, despite the things below. So 10 years of that not being the case. For 10 years, the family unit was horrific. It was a complete nightmare until after a decade of it, I just said I'd had enough, and I just booked a ticket and went to California and went to Tulum in Mexico. I went to Portugal, I went to France, I went to Spain, and I spent a lot of time wandering the earth, wondering what on earth was really going on. But you'll see what I mean in a minute. I mean, it was crazy. It was a crazy situation. You know, myself and my stepdaughter both came from severely broken homes full of neglect and abandonment. Plus, my stepdaughter is the same age, well, a year older than my own daughter, who passed when she was in her infancy. And so I thought it would be incredibly hard to bring up, another daughter so close to my own daughter's age. And I did bring her up, really. She lived with us full time because she had physical abandonment and neglect from her mother, and I had had that from my father. So there was a lot of issues. There was a lot of unhealed trauma in both of us, in both of our broken homes step background. I had been a stepchild and now I was a stepmom, and it was just horrific. It was really hard going. I also didn't have a good record with men until I met my husband. I mean, I had a good boyfriend before him, to be honest, as well, for 6 years. But before that, it was bad boy after bad boy after bad boy. I never had a father figure to really help me recognize anything about the man and what was a good thing and what wasn't a good thing. So I had a lot of difficulty in being able to navigate life in a normal way, shall we say, because my life had just never been normal, and that meant I didn't really do well at school either. And I had a incredibly destructive low self-esteem, to the extent of trying to end my life when I was 16 with a Prozac overdose. And someone said to me not long after that if they got my grades, they'd kill themselves, not knowing that I was in recovery from doing exactly that. And the upside to the self-destruction, yes, there was one. It was that I had been so rebellious that I remained kind of untouched in a way, and I had a highly individualistic and independent streak, which gave me an amazing connection to the source. So much so that I began to make a career out of it. And even though I got measures of success, it did always seem to end in a destructive drama of some sort. And then, it got to the point with my family as well, and it was like, I've got to do something. And I needed space. Space is what I needed, because when you have been a highly successful intuitive, you've been trained to be that way throughout your childhood, and you're just always swamped by other people's stuff. And I really needed to get away and feel what was my own stuff. I needed to be away from everybody. It was like being in isolation, but in the most beautiful places in the world. And it was like the universe incarcerated me in that isolation for 16 months for me to really realize how much I've been flooded with everybody else's stuff and what was really mine, and how to work it out, how to untangle myself from everybody else's energy. And that's really what we're going to be looking at today. So that was when the missing piece came to me in 2018, despite actively working on myself for 20 years and being a professional in it for 15 years. It was February 2018 I came back to the family, and everything has been amazing ever since, even though my stepdaughter didn't speak to me when I left. Who can blame her? And didn't speak to me for those 16 months. Now we have the most amazing, caring, compassionate, incredible relationship that's been made incredibly strong because of what we have been through for so long. So, I've always been into the tarot, the archetypal language of the tarot, healing and astrology ever since I was 4 years old, but I expect younger than that. But that was when I first saw a tarot deck and I first saw astrology books, and I was hooked on those far more than Barbie and Ken or Enid Blyton. It was like, give me the real thing. So that really did turn into my career, which was all I ever really wanted to be. And I became a published author twice over, and I won an award for my first book, which is now also a product called The Transformational Truth of Tarot Game Changer, which won an award this year. And I also won awards for international speaking, for my appearances on TV, and my programs. Okay, so mainly the awards are really to do with helping people to make better choices. And I couldn't really understand how I did it. I was seeing, before 2018, I was seeing that my clients were consistently transforming their relationships from hurting to healing through my work, but I wasn't able to do that for myself, and nor could I pinpoint why it was happening for them. So if you are reading this and you feel like it means it's a long, old path to walk, please don't. Like I said, it started happening for my clients consistently long before I worked it out for myself. Yeah, I'm just like that. It took me 2 years to pass my driving test, and I had 6 tests, much to my grand's broken pocket, bless her. So I don't think I'm the quickest of learners, but I do go the long, meandering way and learn a lot through experience. So I have a lot of experience to then bring back to people and say, I've done it this way and I've done it that way and I found this way. And if you go that way, that's what happens. If you go this way, that's what happens. And this is the way that leads to this. It's quite amazing, really. So we're going to do that today. Let's stop waffling on. Let's move on. I have to tell you first why this webinar is different from the others you might have attended in the past. This is the first time I'm giving you the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 formula for opening your heart to love and life without fear of it breaking in the process, and missing secret in one place all at the same time. So we're going to be doing quite a deep session of how to really get to that place where you feel totally confident and you feel like, I can actually apply these and start to make some changes. And you'll be guided step by step how to do that. So you'll be leaving the training 100% able to know how to put this into practice. And if you're already doing well, you're going to get some new and advanced strategies to help you get even better. Okay. And also at the end of this masterclass, I'll be letting you know how you can continue on an epically exciting and healing path of self-discovery through a chance to connect with me for a free one-to-one to see if my current offer, which is this epically exciting thing that I'm talking about, and I mean it really is something truly special, really special, and we want to see if that's a fit for you to continue the healing that you started today. So if you're feeling like, oh my goodness, this is amazing stuff and I really want to continue, I don't want to fall back after a few days, then you do want to take me up on that offer at the end of the webinar. But if you don't, that's fine. You'll still get tremendous value from attending today, which will help you in the days to come. Okay, so just to recap, On a personal level, I've come from a place of no healthy relationship role model. So my father left when I was a baby, and a string of broken hearts, which were mine. It's the wrong way around, huh? And now I am really, truly, deeply, happily married. And no, it hasn't been plain sailing. But yes, the love grows more and more every day. It's been 13 years now, which is quite amazing from someone with my background. I've also got a gorgeous relationship with my stepdaughter, as I said now, which felt completely impossible for a decade. And it's incredible to see how that's changed. And I've gone from high school flunk to high self-development funk, as I've already told you. And this is because now I really know who I am. And that happened by just following my feelings, really. And now I have it clear in my head exactly who I am, exactly what I do. So I help intuitives tune back into themselves because they're so used to tuning into other people. And I'm really clear that that is my role, and I know how I do this for people now. Okay, and so we're going to do it. Are you ready? It's your turn to honour and respect your life and who you are, no matter how radical things may seem. So I'm going to introduce you to my 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 formula so you can practice it daily, because it's only then that the changes happen. And you don't need a pen and paper. You'll get all these slides on the replay if you stay till the end of the webinar. That is a bonus that you will get for staying right to the end. And you'll want them. You'll see why. They will be really handy for you to have. And you will need to be comfy, warm and undisturbed. This is not the normal call on a webinar that says shut down your phone and your other browsers so that you can put all your attention in one place. This is because we will be doing a very deep meditation that will be quite shocking for you if you are disturbed. So it's really incredibly important that you are in a place where you won't be disturbed and that you're comfy and warm and relaxed. And that you have earphones and some water and a blanket if you're slightly cool, because the more that you relax, the colder it will be for you. And as we said, we're working with intention, so please do set your intention to be completely honest and open with yourself as much as you can be. It's not easy to be honest and open. We think that we're doing quite well and then we realise we weren't. So just set the intention to be as completely open and honest with yourself as you can possibly be right now, and to choose healing as much as you possibly can over hurting. And this is how you take responsibility for your life, i.e. the responsibility or the ability to respond. So first of all, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 formula, number 5, and this isn't as in a top 5 in at number 5. This is in the process of education. So this has to come first for everything else to make sense. And it's about Pia Melody's 5 symptoms of codependence. We're going to go through them now, okay? And I want you to change this word to intuitive. So where it says comes from the 5 symptoms of codependence, let's look at this as the 5 symptoms of being intuitive. And you might get some interesting aha moments. For instance, I didn't think I was a people pleaser. I'd never really put myself down as that. I've always had that rebellious streak. But when I read the 5 symptoms of codependence, I was like, oh my God. And it was because I was intuitive and using my intuition as out-tuition, i.e. being tuned into others rather than myself. So let's look at this. Number 1, the intuitive individual relies on others to determine their worth. They get it from comparing themselves to others, and so their self-esteem fluctuates between feeling worthless or better than. And when negative events occur, the person with a healthy self-esteem will not question his or her own worth or value. But the intuitives that's using their intuition to tune out into others, so outtuition, will feel terrible if something negative happens, to the point that it will affect their worth. And the other extreme is that they will shut down and just become quite arrogant. And that's a way of also protecting their feeling of low self-esteem. Okay, so that's number one. Do you recognize it? Put it in the chat box if you do. And a good way to score is to score yourself on these things. So you could put number 1 and then put 1 to 10 in the chat box, 10 being I totally resonate with this and 1 being I don't. Let's go on to number 2. It's difficulty setting functional boundaries. So a boundary is there to stop yourself being victimized, but it's also to stop you victimizing someone else or being an offender. And it's also there to give you an individual sense of self. So if you've got boundary problems, you're going to have problems in all of these areas. You're going to feel victimized. You may feel like you've done something to other people that doesn't feel that great. And you also may be all over the place and not able to stand for anything because you don't know what you stand for. So boundary systems are both an external and an internal thing, an internal code of conduct for yourself as well. Number 3 is difficulty owning our own reality. Very hard for an intuitive. The body, for instance. How many intuitives have problems being in their body, huh? We're known for it, right? Thinking. How we give meaning to incoming data, that can be really challenged because we don't often know where the data is coming from. And that also can mess with our feelings. We might feel a certain way and not realize that actually we've taken that on from someone else. And of course, that will affect our behavior, which can be all over the place. And so this is something that can go into two extremes as well. It can go from, I know what my reality is and I won't share it, or I don't have a clue what my reality is. And most often with intuitives, it's that latter one. And they then have to make up a personal identity and reality out of what they think they should be. So again, outtuition, tuning into other people's projections and living that way. Number 4, difficulty acknowledging and meeting our own wants and needs. So people who have difficulty with this core symptom can fall into these 4 categories. Too dependent, expecting others to meet their needs completely. Anti-dependent, I alone can meet my needs. Needless, wantless, I am not aware of my needs or wants. And confuses wants and needs, so attempts to meet needs with wants. I will often eat, for example, when I'm tired. I was definitely not aware of my needs or wants. I would shock my husband and myself when they would come out like a volcano. And I am also a mix of I alone can meet my needs and I can get in that space without even realizing I'm there. And I can also be quite codependent on my husband for the home stuff like cooking. And I mean, he brought his daughter up for 10 years before I came in. So he does have a very strong mother energy. And I can sometimes just fall into that as well. So you may find that you are a mix of these things. Difficulty experiencing and expressing our reality moderately. Like I said, that volcano, anybody recognize that? And this symptom is most visible to other people, so the people you've just shocked, which tended to happen quite a lot in my early 20s when I would speak out in circles and not realise how much fire was within, for instance. There's just no middle ground, even though you might be trying so hard to the point that you've convinced yourself that you are balanced. But actually, it's just so apparent to other people that the way that you are thinking or feeling or expressing yourself isn't that way. And it can even be down to dress sense, believe it or not, flamboyantly or dowdily dressed, and weight issues and self-care issues. It's basically anything that's not in moderation. Okay, so that can also be something there. So have a look, have a think. How do those 5 symptoms of codependency, or shall I say, being intuitive but using your intuition to tune into out-tuition? Yes, do you resonate with them? This is now moving on to number 4, which is Don Miguel Ruiz 4 agreements, which is a great, whether you're intuitive or not, just for if you're a person, they are absolutely brilliant. But as intuitives, this stuff is heightened for us. Yes, we need this even more. It's really important because everything is just so amplified when you're this way. So the first agreement is to be impeccable with your word and speak with integrity and say only what you mean. So this is one way to start practicing tuning into you more than another person. You also avoid gossiping or speaking about yourself in a derogatory manner, which is the one that I find that intuitives find the hardest. So really do not leave yourself out of this equation either. And always use the power of your word in the direction of truth and love. Number 2, the second agreement is to not take anything personally. Nothing others do is because of you. It's so true that their experiences mean that they can only see things through their eyes. They're not seeing things through your eyes. Okay, so this is something that is very hard for intuitives because it does feel so personal because you are so tuned into them, especially if you're using it as out-tuition, yes? But when you are immune to the opinions and actions of others because you can see that it is their own story, it's amazing how your wobbles actually, it feels like you're growing like a big bamboo rather than a tiny little daisy that's going to be trampled on any minute. It's quite incredible. And the third agreement is to not make assumptions. Again, taking things personally is making an assumption that it's about you. Brené Brown has a really good sentence, which is, when this happened, the story I told myself was, and that's great because it tells that person that you're not making any assumptions, that you haven't made your mind up that they meant this, yes? And that can also be a problem when you're intuitive. You believe that you are right because you're intuitive, when really we have to find the courage to ask the questions. And if you're confused by the information that you're getting back, then yeah, I mean, I've found when I'm confused about the information that I'm getting back, that does usually mean that somebody is lying to me. But when I just blatantly assume that it's some way, that has always been a mistake. So do find the courage to ask your questions and express what you really want and communicate with others as clearly as you can. And the fourth agreement is to always do your best, which is going to change from moment to moment, from when you're tired or sick and well rested and healthy. So it's just about going, am I doing my gentle best? I want to put the word gentle in before best, because what I've realized with intuitives is that not that they don't do their best, actually, it's far from it. It's like they can't stop trying to do their best and they will never, ever, ever get there. It's like setting impossible standards. And like with the tarot, for instance, so I teach people transformative tarot and they will want to be right. And it's like, you can't prove anything with the tarot. Let go of this trying to be right with it. It's not possible. It's just a mirror. And so it's things like that. And I've noticed that when people try too hard, that's when they break. Intuitives break and go from one extreme to the other, like we were talking about with moderation just now. So I would say, do your gentle best. Be gentle with you. Know that it's going to change from moment to moment, and that's really okay. Okay, so number 3 of the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 is the Cartman drama triangle. I'm not going to go through all of it here. If you stay to the end of the webinar, you will get this PDF slide, which will help you to see if you are in the persecutor energy, rescuer energy, or victim energy in any of your dynamics in your relationships, and how you can turn it around just by some very clear statements and very clear changes. Okay, so from persecutor to challenger, you can go from that to as I said, challenger. I'll give you an example. In my marriage, I was the persecutor, and I was telling my husband that the way he was bringing up his daughter was not correct. Okay, ouch, yes. And I was really stuck in that role because I had worked with children with severely challenging behavior. So I actually brought my professional head home and was trying to train him. And I just walked into their life and was trying to control it. And that was because I had a lot of unhealed stuff in me as well. People in pain cause pain, right? And I was trying to control it all. And it was awful. It backfired completely. And that is how I got out of the triangle, was actually to leave, was actually to physically take myself out of the dynamic. And it wasn't until I'd done that that I found out about the Cartman drama triangle. But we had to still work from a distance for a long time because we were still in the dynamics of the triangle and working them through mentally and emotionally whilst we were physically apart. And it was when we had mentally and emotionally managed to work it out that we could physically come back together and actually work really well as a family. So this is also something that I bring into my work as well, as a way to help intuitives tune back into themselves and not be, tuned into other people so much. This is the other thing as well. You cannot empower another by disempowering yourself. Excuse me. Excuse me. Oh dear. Just need a drink of water there. So maybe you guys needed some time to think about that, but maybe you can see that as well now from the 543 that you have just seen before. So have a think. Is there a situation in your life right now where you are disempowering yourself because you think it's empowering another? Maybe it's in work, maybe it's in your family, maybe it's a relationship, maybe it's a friendship. Have a think about it and have a think about what might happen for that person if you actually just went off and did the thing you wanted to do. Because, boom, number 1. And then I learned the spiritual journey had nothing to do with being nice. It was about being real, authentic, and having boundaries, honouring my space first and others second. And in this space of self-care, being nice just happened. It flowed, not motivated by fear, but by love. Oof! Well said, Michelle Olac. It's a bit hard to take though, isn't it? That actually when we think about it, how much have we been motivated by the fear of not being liked or being worthy or being good enough, rather than the fear of being love to yourself. So you're putting yourself first and then actually being able to love others from that space. And maybe you know all of this already, but why is it just not working for you? Well, you are human and you suffer from tunnel vision. And to really get out of the shame and blame game, you need to find a way to see the bigger picture. To get a bird's eye view of the great expanse of time. And when you see that, you realise there's no such place for any shame or blame because it really was playing out perfectly. But how on earth do you do that? Well, this is the missing secret. Not quite. It's coming. But this is a recap, okay? So number one, you are the top 5 people you hang around with. And if they contract rather than expand your vision, if you can see yourself in the drama triangle or the 5 symptoms of codependency, or you can see you're out of alignment with your 4 agreements and that maybe they don't support your ability to get out of these things, then it doesn't mean that you have to cut them off completely. But remember what I said before, focus on healing rather than hurting. So it's time to get yourself some new support if that's the case. And when I say new support, I mean communities, top 5 people. Get another 5 people at least in your life, okay? I do run communities that do practice these ways of being. And so if you feel like you need this, then that's a great call to continue connecting with me after this webinar, and we can see if you would be a fit for what's coming up with my current offer. Number 2, judgment contracts your vision and your heart. So every time you realize you are becoming judgmental, drop the assumption and embrace curiosity. What if? What if? Yes, and that doesn't mean put yourself in some stupid situations. Okay. Do keep your intuition on, yes, tuned in rather than tuned out. But you'll feel it when you're becoming judgmental. It will be a contractual tightness in you, and maybe there's something to drop there. Show up for yourself daily and be happy with 1% progress a day rather than 100% perfection. Remember what I said about setting yourself up to fail and how that is a symptom as well for the intuitive. Allow yourself to go deeper than the mind and find a practice that talks to your soul and transforms you from there. So for me, this is tarot, past life, channeling, and astrology. Maybe we fit and have the same ones, or maybe it's something different for you. If they fit and we have the same ones, again, it's another sign to connect with me after this webinar. And even if they don't, actually, there's something here about the what if they did. So the number 2. And make the change. Nothing changes unless you do. The law of attraction is made from the word attract and action. But the real big secret is about taking a trip down memory lane. This is how we get to see the bigger picture. And one way to do that is past life regression. Now, maybe you are thinking that you don't believe in past lives. Maybe you think you do. Maybe you're on the fence. Whatever it is, it doesn't really matter, to be honest. I'm only really concerned about whether whatever journey you go on, remember what I said about I was going to take you through a deep meditation on this webinar? Yes. I'm only concerned because this deep meditation is a past life regression. It's not anything scary. It's a relaxation journey, and I'm not really concerned about whether you believe it or not. I'm just really concerned around whether whatever went on in your head was healing or not. That is my primary concern. So again, what if doing this was going to be healing for you? And if you're like, no, you know what, I'm out, then fine. You can come off of this at any time. You know, this is absolutely within your control. And you can apply what you've got so far, and maybe it will help you for a bit. But like anything, when we don't see things through to the end, then it's kind of normally impermanent. It can help you for a little bit, but it's that daily support that really makes the transformation long term. And if you're up for it, if you're up for joining me now for a little trip down memory lane, then it's time to make sure you're comfy and warm and you won't be disturbed, as I said earlier. Earphones are good because it will help you to tune into my voice easier than if you don't have them. So I would recommend getting them. If they're at hand, then now's a good time to get them. And before we do the journey, I am just going to speak to you about some things that you will need to know to help yourself with it. So, during the journey, you'll block yourself if you do get concerned about whether it's real or imagined. And it will happen because past life regression is like you are dreaming and awake at the same time. You know, when you dream, you don't go, oh my god, this is crazy stuff, until you wake up, unless you're lucid, but that doesn't normally happen. So with past life regression, it's like you've got the consciousness and the unconsciousness running at the same time. So you do have that, oh my God, this is crazy consciousness, judging the unconsciousness. So they run alongside each other. So you just have to work at it. You have to work at being aware of when your conscious is talking and when you're listening to it, and actually tune into your unconscious by going to the conscious. You love having things to analyze, don't you, conscious? And the conscious will go, oh yes, I love having things to analyze. And you go, okay, conscious, well then just sit back, because the more we can let come up from the unconscious, the more you're going to have to analyze at the end. And then the conscious will go, oh yes, good idea. And then it'll come up with another fact, the unconscious seemingly fact, and the conscious will dispute it again, and you have to go through the whole palaver again. Okay, but it's a practice. All right, so are you up for it? The way with getting the most out of past life regression is curiosity. What if? That's how we start to see the expanded vision. Embrace that childlike, carefree abandonment and lack of concern about imagination, and allow it to open you up. Trust you'll be shown the life that's right for you right now. So are you ready? Are you sitting comfortably? Are you warm? Are you not going to be disturbed? Is your phone on silent? And are you feeling really comfy and relaxed, like lying down more than sat straight, for instance? Because it's time to really allow yourself to let go. All right, let's do this. So I'd like you to close your eyes. Take a deep breath in and out, and just tune into your breathing. Lovely, deep, relaxing breaths. Really start tuning into your body and relaxing your breath more and more. Just let it go out, down through your arms, down through your legs, out through the floor. Every breath, just feel yourself, feel your body getting more and more relaxed, going deeper and deeper into relaxation and calmness. You are feeling deeply relaxed, letting go of the tension from your temples, from your jaw, your mouth, your lips, your tongue, all gently melting down, with beautiful relaxation going down through your shoulders, down through your arms, out through your fingertips, like warm honey just flowing down through your veins, giving you a golden glow. Is running down through your chest now, down through your solar plexus and your hips and your thighs, going deeper and deeper down through your legs, All the tension unlocking from your hips and your knees, from your ankles and the little bones in your feet. And that beautiful, warm, relaxing, golden light of honey going out through your toes, leaving the whole of you beautifully calm and relaxed. In front of you, you see a door. What colour is it? What shape is it? And size? What's it made of? Is it freshly painted? Is it painted at all? Look at the handle. Take the handle and step through and look down at your feet. Notice if you are wearing anything on your feet. What they look like. Whether they are the feet of a child or a man or a woman. Whether they give away whether you're rich or poor. And what you're stood on. Is it inside or outside? Is it night or day? And does your surroundings give you any information to the time of year you're in, or even the period that you're in? Just let the year flash up on the screen of your mind now. And the country. And maybe also your name. See if you can get a second name too. Remember, we're not concerned about whether it's real, but it's good to get as many details as you can, just for fun. So, what about your address? Is there anything around you, like a letter or anything that gives away where you are? And now I want you to go to the most important day of that lifetime. So after 3, you're going to find yourself there. 1, 2, 3. You find yourself at the most important day of that lifetime. And who you are now. And who's with you now. How much you fast forwarded. Maybe it's months, days, hours even, or years. And what's happening, what's going on, how you're feeling. So allow your mind to roam and explore who's there with you, whether you recognize anyone, maybe even in this life. And what's playing out. And now I want you to go to the moment of your death. And don't worry, you've been here many times before. Just see it playing out on a movie in front of you. So after 3, 1, 2, 3, the last day of your life, find yourself there now. What is happening now? Are you leaving any type of legacy? What have you stood for in your life? What are you passing from? And what is the lesson for you here? Why have you shown, why have you been shown this particular life today? What is the theme? Is there any dynamics or repetitive lessons or things that maybe you've managed to move on from? And when you're ready, just see a great big golden light just completely immersing these scenes in gorgeous golden light. So all they become is gorgeous golden light cells in the universe. And feel yourself coming back through the doorway now and closing the door behind you. Coming back into your body as you are, who you are now, here, in your present day, in your present life. And shaking it off. So just allowing your body to move. Have a stretch, have a yawn, screw up your face, make fists. And just gently opening your eyes, coming back round, feeling clearer hopefully and fresher hopefully. You can put in the chat box anything that you want to feedback, but take some water, take a moment to actually come back round. It's important to take water with this, and that will help you to clear things that came up for you as well. But please feel free to share in the chat box and we'll go through it on the Q&A. Okay. So are you back? Are you ready? So far, you've learnt the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 formula with the missing secret. It has been a packed webinar and your head is probably swimming with what to do with it all. So is it okay if I share a way to help you move through this? I'm assuming that if you're still on the webinar right now, then that's what you're here for. And step 1 to move through it is to push the button that you see on the page now. You'll see it come up as an offer. And so if you just push that button, this is what will happen. You'll see this picture and an invite to connect with me for a free one-to-one to see if this here, this offer, which is a pretty epic once in a lifetime opportunity, is the right fit for you, if it's going to work for you, because if it's not, then it's not great for you, or for me, or for the others, for you to be there. So I speak to every single person that comes onto a program, a live program or a retreat, to check that it is what is right for you. And this is a rather epic once in a lifetime opportunity because I don't plan to be running the transformational truth of Tulum at this current moment again. So this is a once in a lifetime opportunity. Let's see if it's right for you. This is how. So you scroll down the page and you'll see this part here. It says Dream Retreat Inquiry. So you just fill in that and press submit. Okay, and now you're either brimming with excitement like this, like, oh my God, this looks amazing and I'm so glad I found all of this. Or you might be closing that door. Yes, like we spoke about with your conscious and subconscious before with the past life regression that we just did. And this is Tulum, by the way. This is the Mayan temple of the diving god here. So this is real. This is really what it looks like. I have been, I can tell you. Maybe it's a mix like this. You know, the scientists say that anxiety and excitement are actually the same thing. It just depends how we label it. And it depends on how you label it as to whether you'll block yourself right here, right now, or not. And if you do block yourself, it's probably due to one of these thoughts. I could never possibly do that because this is a luxury and I've never allowed myself to have that, or I can't allow myself to have that because right now I don't have the money. I could never travel that far. I could never do anything as self-indulgent as to invest in myself as in a top-notch location without taking my family. Are you crazy? Whew. If I had listened to those thoughts, I'd have never myself gone to Tulum either. And myself, my husband, and my stepdaughter would have not have had the space to empower ourselves. And we did. We all worked on our own stuff. We all did our own thing. Okay, so we all found our own support system to work through what was ours, and we could turn it around because we knew what was our stuff. We had the space to do it, and then we could come back as a family. Yes, that worked. Ooh, I look a little bit pixelated here. Hopefully this shows you it's not photoshopped. It's stretched. Yes, I did go to Tulum, and this was an amazing day out that we had here in seeing turtles and dolphins. It was incredible, and I've never swam in sea like it. And yes, this is white sand. I've just stretched it and it looks totally pixelated. But this one isn't stretched. They're all of Tulum, these pictures. So you know they're just not like I found a pretty picture. They are of Tulum. So if you are thinking that this is a luxury and you can't do this, it's not an essential, then I have to ask whether you are in an essential situation. And what does that mean? Well, it's when you're in any situation in your life that is affecting it so much that it may mean that you're not sleeping, you're not eating, or you've gone to the other extreme of eating too much. You can't work, you can't focus, and therefore you don't have any money. Everything seems to just be going wrong. And you're like, oh my God, now I don't have the funds, and I absolutely have to invest in myself to find the way out of this. And when it's at that place, it can be really tough. It can be spending money that you don't have, having really high interest rates to pay back. It can also be for what? To sit in a gloomy therapist's office for hours on end. I do know ways that will shift you faster, and I do know locations to take you to. And I was lucky that that was the way my path went. We did go for therapy. Myself, my husband, and my stepdaughter, we all went separately, and my husband and I also went together. But if we'd have listened to the therapists, we would have been in the divorce courts by now. Yes, they actually told us to break up. And I've also found out that the statistics of couples that go for therapy that end in separation are 70%. So we actually broke up with the therapists, and we're really glad we did. Now, obviously, there are some amazing therapists out there. Our problem was that they were projecting on us their own story. Ta-da! Second agreement. And luckily, I was able to see that because of the 4 agreements and the work that I've done. And I brought it up and said so. And they were honest enough to say, oh my God, yeah, we've totally done that. But what about those of you that aren't so able to see that that is what has happened? And the other thing is, if you leave it till then, you not only do you miss out on this location? All the experience that I've shown you today is just a tip of the iceberg, and it's also a course. It's an accredited qualification in past life regression and certified Mayan astrology. For those of you that really feel like you need to come back with some piece of paper that shows that you have done this and you've invested in yourself and you've got something tangible to show for it on the external professional life as well as the internal life and your relationship or emotional life. So there's a heck of a ton of reasons why to come to Tulum, and they are professional and they are personal, and it just makes sense, doesn't it? It makes sense. And there's also a magic in Tulum, one that makes you see things clearer than anywhere else I've been on the planet. And of course, the cenotes, which are amazing pools found in Mexico, and the Mayans and the shamans help. So there really is a real sense of diving deep into the ancient and rising up, feeling cleansed and refreshed and connected back into your supernatural nature and who you are. It's really easy to let those projections of when you're intuitive and you've overloaded yourself so much you don't really know. It's like all of that just shifts. So that's why I've been taking people to international retreats this past year of places that I've been, because I know what the energy is like there. I went there for my healing. Every place that I take you on a retreat has part of my story and my healing. And through being there, I can understand what it's about for you, tune into that energy and know how to do it, and to take you there and plug you into that too. So, want to come? How are you feeling? Are you able to put it into practice? Or do you have that, I could never do that, I could never, that kind of like, I want to go, but I'll be not going because to not go, I'm going to empower someone else. I can't because of blah, 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 blah. Do you remember what we learned about that earlier, about how you can't actually empower another by disempowering yourself? So this is time to put it into practice. And so still, if you are thinking this sounds great and I could never go away somewhere that far, that's exactly it. It's the act of getting out of your comfort zone that actually activates the hero's journey. So this is what we all go through. We get a call to adventure on the hero's journey. And this is the Fool in the Tarot, but you could see it as Frodo. Yes, it's a good way. Gets a call to adventure. And actually, a lot of us stop there. We're like, okay, that's enough. But if you progress through the denial of the call to adventure, then you meet the mentor. In this case, it would be me. And then you cross the threshold. In this case, it would be getting on the plane. And then you have your helpers, so the people from the retreat coming to get you, me helping you go through and learn past life regression, Aisha Cosmos, a TEDx speaker, it would be teaching you also the Mayan astrology. So you're going through all of this through growth and new skills, and then you have this death and rebirth where you realize, oh my God, that's why everything has been this way, because I have been that way, and that's the way I've been because blah, blah, blah. And that brings the revelation and the changes. And then we will go through with you how to make this better, how to go back into your life and actually apply it so everything is changed when you return. Boom. That's the hero's journey. But you don't get the gift without honouring the call to adventure. You don't get all of this. That's just the way it is. So let's look at some people that have actually come on retreats with me. This is the first time I am running a retreat in Tulum. I have been there for myself, but it's the first time I've run a retreat in Tulum. However, it was the first time I ran a retreat in Canada as well this year. And I'm not going to read all of it because we're running out of time, but You will get these slides, so you can read them all for you. If you stay till the end, you will get them. I will just read here. The most recent retreat in Canada brought all the hard work into marvellous culmination of what I tried to gain. Trust in my intuition, without a doubt. I am there. Tiffany was so instrumental in providing gentle guidance that kept me on the path and allowed me to grow into what I was seeking at a natural pace for me. Without her as the group leader and the group support, I would not be where I am today, secure in my knowledge and trust of my intuition. And also as a byproduct, my grief journey has been softened. Okay, so that's one lady, Susan, bless her. This is Lady Maria, who travelled from the Netherlands to England for a retreat in Cornwall. And Susan, she came from America to Canada for this one. So Maria here was talking about the retreat and how much she absolutely loved doing this. And I know it was hard for Maria to travel as well, and how overwhelmed she was in the beautiful energy, and how she's thinking about doing a retreat to do this energy again and be with like-minded people. And to anybody who's thinking, should I go? She says, I really recommend it to you if you like to work at yourself, to grow, to feel peace with yourself, to make your energy higher and to meet like-minded people. Then go for it, because it will change your life. This is not Cornwall, by the way. This is Mexico. This is still Tulum. Okay. Vicky here. Again, I'm not going to read it all because of time. And basically, she's talking about how at the last minute, because this retreat that I'm talking about now is only about a month away, just over a month away. We start on the 6th of January. And you might be there going, I can't do this at the last minute. Well, Vicky did go to Canada at the last minute. And finances were an issue, and she'd never flown before, and she was totally terrified. She didn't even have a passport, and she is so glad she did it. She discovered she loved flying, and she got to attend a beautiful retreat with amazing people, and there was so much value in the course activities and so on. I mean, she's just bubbling with it. But for her, it was just the fact that she also overcame so much by actually stepping into the call of adventure and going on that journey. For her was massive, 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 massive. She'd never managed to do it before in her life, and she just at the last minute went, yep, I'm doing it. And what she's taken from the experience is that she has nothing to fear. She can achieve anything she wants. She doesn't have the anxiety like she used to. Her mindset has changed, and she's so much stronger than she has ever been. Wendy, bless Wendy, she came to Canada, and she is also coming to Mexico as well. And she is saying that she also signed up for the Canada retreat with the intention of getting her self-esteem up further. And that's what she got from it. And just a way higher level than she ever expected. And her vision and her goal has become clearer. And her life is now filled with laughter, excitement, courage, and peace. So there you go. There's some things for you to look over, especially if you get the PDF and you want to read through everything else that they said as well. Now, if you allowed yourself to hear the call of adventure and embark on the hero's journey, this is the real question to find out whether you should actually apply to speak to me and find out whether this is the adventure that is right for you or not. The question is, if you allowed yourself to hear the call of adventure and embark on this journey, do you think you would be successful at it? Now, you have nothing to lose and everything to gain from exploring here. Yes, this is Tulum. Okay? Nothing to lose and everything to gain. Whenever you invest in yourself, there is always some gain. Yes, but actually by not moving, there is no gain. And sometimes there's loss too, as we've looked at. So it's up to you now. Are you going to push that button? It will stay up through Q&A time. So I'm just going to come back to your comments now and see if you have any questions about anything that has happened, that we've done, that we've spoken about in this webinar. So I'm just coming back there for you now.